Hello students, welcome to CBSE Class 10 Science 2023 Solved Paper with me, Kunal Kohli. Section A. This section contains 20 multiple choice questions, MCQs carrying 1 mark each. Question 1. In the experimental setup given below, it is observed that on passing the gas produced in the reaction in the solution X, the solution X first turns milky and then colorless. The option that justifies the above stated observation is that X is aqueous calcium hydroxide and A. It turns milky due to carbon dioxide gas liberated in the reaction, and after some time it becomes colorless due to formation of calcium carbonate. B. It turns milky due to formation of calcium carbonate, and on passing excess of carbon dioxide it becomes colorless due to formation of calcium hydroxide carbonate, which is soluble in water. C. It turns milky due to passing of carbon dioxide through it. It turns colorless on further passing carbon dioxide. Sodium hydrogen carbonate is formed, which is soluble in water. D. The carbon dioxide liberated during the reaction turns lime water milky due to formation of calcium hydrogen carbonate, and after some time it turns colorless due to formation of calcium carbonate, which is soluble in water. Concept: reaction of metal carbonates with acids and the lime water test for CO2. Explanation: sodium carbonate reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid to liberate carbon dioxide gas. When this gas is passed through solution X, calcium hydroxide, it initially forms insoluble calcium carbonate, which causes the solution to turn milky. Upon passing excess carbon dioxide, the precipitate reacts to form calcium hydrogen carbonate, which is soluble in water, thereby making the solution colorless again. Answer B. Question 2. The emission of brown fumes in the given experimental setup is due to A. Thermal decomposition of lead nitrate, which produces brown fumes of nitrogen dioxide. B. Thermal decomposition of lead nitrate, which produces brown fumes of lead. C. Oxidation of lead nitrate forming lead oxide and nitrogen dioxide. D. Oxidation of lead nitrate forming lead oxide and oxygen. Concept: thermal decomposition of metallic nitrates. Explanation: when lead nitrate is heated, it undergoes a decomposition reaction to produce lead oxide, oxygen, and nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide, NO2, is the specific gas responsible for the characteristic brown fumes observed during the experiment. Answer A. Question 3. MnO2 plus XHCl gives MnCl2 plus YH2O plus ZCl2. In order to balance the above chemical equation, the values of X, Y, and Z respectively are A. 622, B. 412, C. 421, D. 221. Concept: balancing chemical equations based on the law of conservation of mass. Explanation: to balance the equation, the number of atoms for each element must be equal on both sides. MnO2 plus 4HCl gives us MnCl2 plus 2H2O plus Cl2. This results in the coefficients X is equal to 4, Y is equal to 2, and Z is equal to 1. So the answer is C. Question 4. The table below has information regarding pH and nature, acidic, basic, of 4 different solutions. Which one of the options in the table is correct? A. Lemon juice, orange, 3, basic. B. Milk of magnesia, blue, 10, basic. 3. C. Gastric juice, red, 6, acidic. D. Pure water, yellow, 7, neutral. Concept: pH scale and the nature of common substances. Explanation: milk of magnesia is a well-known basic substance, antacid, with an approximate pH of 10, which turns pH paper blue. Lemon juice and gastric juice are highly acidic, pH I7, while pure water is neutral, pH 7, but typically turns pH paper green, not yellow. So the answer B. Question 5. A metal X is used in thermite process. When X is burnt in air, it gives an amphoteric oxide Y. X and Y are respectively A, Fe and Fe2O3, B, Al and Al2O3, C, Fe and Fe3O4, D, Al and Al3O4. Concept: thermite process and amphoteric oxides. Explanation: aluminium Al is the metal used in the thermite process to reduce metal oxides. When aluminium burns in air, it produces aluminium oxide Al2O3, which is categorized as an amphoteric oxide because it reacts with both acids and bases. So the answer is B. Question 6. Select washing soda from the following: A, Na8CO3, B, Na2CO3.5H2O, C, Na2CO3.10H2O, D, NaOH. Concept: chemical nomenclature of sodium compounds. Explanation: washing soda is the common name for sodium carbonate decahydrate, which has the chemical formula Na2CO3.10H2O. Sodium hydrogen carbonate, NaHCO3, is known as baking soda. So the answer is C. Question 7. Consider the structures of three cyclic carbon compounds A, B, and C and select the correct option. A is cyclohexane, B is benzene, C is cyclohexene. A and C are isomers of hexane and B is benzene. B, A is an isomer of hexane, B is benzene, and C is an isomer of hexene. C, A is a saturated cyclic hydrocarbon, and B and C are unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. D, A is a cyclohexane, and B and C are isomers of benzene. Concept: saturated and unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbon. Explanation: compound A, cyclohexane, contains only single carbon bonds, making it a saturated hydrocarbon. Compounds B, benzene, and C, cyclohexene, contain double bonds, which classifies them as unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. So the answer is C. Question 8. An organism which breaks down the food material outside the body and then absorbs it is A, a plant parasite, Cuscuta, B, an animal parasite, tapeworm, C, a bacteria, Rhizobium, D, a fungi, Rhizopus. Concept: saprophytic nutrition. Explanation: certain organisms such as fungi, Rhizopus, perform extracellular digestion by breaking down food materials outside the bodies before absorbing the simplified nutrients. So the answer is D. Question 9. Consider the following statements about small intestine and select the one which is not correct. 3A. The length of the small intestine in animals differs as it depends on the type of food they eat. B. The small intestine is the site of complete digestion of food. C. The small intestine receives secretions from liver and pancreas. D. The villi of the small intestine absorb water from the unabsorbed food before it gets removed from the body via the anus. Concept: physiology of the human digestive system. Explanation: the absorption of water from unabsorbed food is a primary function of the large intestine, not the small intestine. The small intestine is responsible for complete digestion and the absorption of nutrients through its villi. So the answer is D. Question 10. The statement that correctly describes the characteristics of a gene is A. In individuals of a given species, a specific gene is located on a particular chromosome. B. A gene is not the information source for making proteins in the cell. C. Each chromosome has only one gene located all along its length. D. All the inherited traits in human beings are not controlled by genes. Concept: genetics and the structure of DNA. Explanation: genes are segments of DNA that serve as the information source for making proteins. In a given species, a specific gene is always found at a fixed location on a particular chromosome. So the answer is A. Question 11. Select from the following correct statement about tropic movement in plants. A. It is due to stimulus of touch and temperature. B. It does not depend upon the direction of stimulus received. C. It is observed only in roots and not in stems. D. It is a growth-related movement. Concept: plant physiology and directional growth. Explanation: tropic movements are directional growth responses to stimuli, such as light or gravity. Unlike nastic movements, tropic movements are strictly growth related. So the correct answer is D. Question 12. Select the incorrect match between the plant and its vegetative part. 4A. Birophyllum leaf. B. Potato stem. C. Money plant stem. D. Rose root. Concept: vegetative propagation in plants. Explanation: roses are typically propagated through stem cuttings, not roots. Birophyllum propagates via leaves, while potatoes use underground stems, tubers. Answer B. Question 13. If four identical resistors of resistance 8 ohm are first connected in series Rs and then connected in parallel Rp, then the ratio Rs to Rp is A. 32, B. 2, C. 0.5, D. 16. Concept: combination of resistors. Explanation: for series, Rs is equal to 8 plus 8 plus 8, which is equal to 32 ohms. For parallel, 1 by Rp is equal to 1 by 8 plus 1 by 8 plus 1 by 8 plus 1 by 8, which is equal to 4 eighths, which is equal to and gives us Rp is equal to 2 ohms. The ratio Rs to Rp is equal to 32 by 2 is equal to 16. Answer D. Question 14. In domestic electrical circuits, the wiring with 15 amperes current rating is for the electric devices which have A. higher power ratings such as geysers, B. lower power ratings such as fan, C. metallic bodies and low power ratings, D. non-metallic bodies and low power ratings. Concept: domestic electric circuits and current ratings. Explanation: domestic wiring systems typically use a 15 ampere circuit for appliances with higher power ratings, such as air conditioners and geysers, while a 5 ampere circuit is used for lower power devices like fans. So the answer is A. Question 15. The least count of the voltmeter and the reading shown by it, needle past 1.5 volt mark respectively, are A. 0.15 volt and 1.6 volt, B. 0.05 volt and 1.6 volt, C. 0.15 volt and 1.8 volt, D. 0.05 volt and 1.8 volt. Concept: measurement, instruments, and least count. Explanation: the voltmeter scale shows 30 divisions for 1.5 volt, meaning the least count is 1.5 by 30, which is equal to 0.05 volt. Since the needle is at the second division after 1.5 volts, the reading is 1.5 plus in brackets 2 multiplied by 0.05, which is equal to 1.6 volts. Correct answer B. Question 16. The resultant magnetic field at point P, situated midway between the two parallel wires carrying a steady current I, is A. in the same direction as the current in the wires, B. in the vertically upward direction, C. 0, D. in the vertically downward direction. Concept: magnetic field lines of parallel current carrying wires. Explanation: according to the right-hand thumb rule, the magnetic fields produced by the two wires at the midway point P are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, causing them to cancel each other out to 0. So the answer is C. Question 17. Assertion A. The color of aqueous solution of copper sulfate turns colorless when a piece of lead is added to it. Reason are, lead is more reactive than copper and hence displaces copper from its salt solution. A. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true, but R is false. D. A is false, but R is true. Concept: displacement reactions and the reactivity series. Explanation: lead is positioned higher than copper in the reactivity series. It displaces copper from the blue copper sulfate solution to form colorless lead sulfate. So the correct answer is A. Question 18, assertion A. Genes inherited from the parents decide the sex of a child. Reason R. X chromosome in a male child is inherited from his father. A. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true, but R is false. D. A is false, but R is true. Concept: sex determination in humans. Explanation: the assertion is true as sex is determined by inherited chromosomes. However, the reason is false because a male child, XY, always inherits the Y chromosome from his father and the X chromosome from his mother. So the answer is C. Question 19, assertion A. Blood clotting prevents excessive loss of blood. Reason R. Blood clotting is due to blood plasma and white blood cells present in the blood. A. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true, but R is false. D. A is false, but R is true. Concept: hematology and the clotting mechanism. Explanation: blood clotting is a vital defense mechanism to prevent blood loss. The process is primarily carried out by platelets, not white blood cells. So the correct answer is C. Question 20, assertion A. The strength of the magnetic field produced at the center of a current carrying circular coil increases on increasing the number of turns in it. Reason R. The current in each circular turn has the same direction and the magnetic field due to each turn then just adds up. A. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true, but R is false. D. A is false, but R is true. Concept: electromagnetism in circular coils. Explanation: as the number of turns increases, the magnetic field strength increases because the current in each turn flows in the same direction, causing the individual magnetic fields to reinforce and then add up. Answer A. Section B. This section contains 6 very short answer type questions carrying 2 marks each. Answers are expected to be in the range of 30 to 50 words, so do not write more than that. Question 21A1. A compound X which is prepared from gypsum has the property of hardening when mixed with proper quantity of water. Identify X and write its chemical formula. 2. State the difference in chemical composition between baking soda and baking powder. Or B. Write balanced chemical equation for the reaction that occurs when 1. Blue colored copper sulfate crystals are heated. 2. Sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated during cooking. Concept: properties of salts and water of crystallization. Explanation: gypsum is a dehydrate, CaSO4.2H2O, that when partially dehydrated forms plaster of Paris. This compound rehardens into gypsum when water is added. Baking soda is a pure compound, whereas baking powder is a mixture containing an additional acidic component. Heating hydrated copper sulfate removes its water of crystallization, and heating sodium hydrogen carbonate decomposes it into sodium carbonate, water, and carbon dioxide. Answer A 1. X, plaster of Paris or calcium sulfate hemihydrate formula, CaSO4.5H2O. 2. Baking soda is pure sodium hydrogen carbonate, NaHCO3, while baking powder is a mixture of baking soda and a mild edible acid like tartaric acid. B1 CuSO4.5H2O heated gives us CuSO4.5H2O heated gives us CuSO4 plus 5H2O. 2. 2 Na8CO3 heated gives us Na2CO3 plus H2O plus CO2. Question 22a. Write the role of insulin in regulating blood sugar levels in the human body. Mention the disease caused due to it. B. How is the timing and the amount of release of insulin in the blood regulated? Concept. Hormonal regulation and feedback mechanisms. Explanation. Insulin is a vital hormone that facilitates the uptake of glucose by cells, thereby maintaining safe sugar levels in the bloodstream. The body uses a sensing mechanism to ensure the pancreas releases insulin only when necessary. Answer A. Role: lowers blood sugar levels. Disease: diabetes. B. It is regulated by a feedback mechanism. A rise in blood sugar levels triggers increased insulin production, and as levels fall, the secretion is reduced. Question 23. A. Name the type of blood: oxygenated, deoxygenated, transported by each of the following, mentioning the path, that is, from one organ to another. 1. Vena cava. 2. Pulmonary artery. Or B. With the help of a schematic flowchart, show the breakdown of glucose in a cell to provide energy. 1. In the presence of oxygen. 2. In the lack of oxygen. Concept: circulatory system and cellular respiration. Explanation. The human heart acts as a dual pump system. The vena cava returns blood from the body, while the pulmonary artery sends it to the lungs for gas exchange. Respiration in the presence of oxygen occurs in the mitochondria, while anaerobic respiration in muscle cells produces lactic acid. Answer A1. Vena cava, deoxygenated blood from body to heart. 2. Pulmonary artery, deoxygenated blood from heart to lungs. B1. Glucose in cytoplasm gives us pyruvate, which in the presence of oxygen in mitochondria gives us carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. 2. Glucose in cytoplasm gives us pyruvate, when with the lack of oxygen in human muscle cells gives us lactic acid plus energy. Question 24. Name the part of the human excretory system where nephrons are found. Write the structure and function of nephrons. Concept: human excretory system. Explanation. Nephrons are the functional units of the kidneys. They consist of a filtration unit and a tubular section that enables the selective reabsorption of necessary nutrients while concentrating waste for excretion. Answer. Location: kidneys. Structure: a cluster of thin-walled capillaries. Glomerulus, associated with a cup-shaped end of a tube called the Bowman's capsule, which extends into a tubular part ending in collective ducts. Function: filtration of nitrogenous waste from blood to form urine, or reabsorption of useful materials from the filtrate. Question 25a. A narrow beam XY of white light is passing through a glass prism. A, B, C. Trace it on your answer sheet and show the path of the emergent beam as observed on the screen PQ. Name the phenomenon observed and state its cause. Or B. It is observed that the power of an eye to see nearby objects as well as far off objects diminishes with age. Give reason for the above statement. 2. Name the defect that is likely to arise. 3. Draw a ray diagram to show the type of corrective lens used. Concept: dispersion and defects of vision. Explanation. White light splits into a spectrum when entering a prism because different wavelengths travel at different speeds and bend at different angles. As people age, the eye loses flexibility, making it difficult to adjust focal length for various distances. Answer A. Phenomenon: dispersion of white light. Cause: different colors of light bend through different angles relative to the incident ray because they have different wavelengths. B1. Reason: gradual weakening of the ciliary muscles and diminishing flexibility of the eye lens. 2. Defect: presbyopia or presbyopia plus myopia. 3. Corrective lens, bifocal lens. Question 26. How do harmful chemicals get accumulated progressively at each trophic level in a food chain? Concept, biological magnification. Explanation. Non-degradable chemicals enter the food chain via soil absorption by plants. Because these substances cannot be broken down, their concentration increases at every subsequent stage of consumption. Answer. Chemicals sprayed on crops are absorbed by chemicals from the soil. As these chemicals are not degradable, they get accumulated progressively at each successive trophic level. Section C. This section contains 7 short answer essay type questions carrying 3 marks each. Question 27A. Identify the reducing agent in the following reactions. 1. 4NH3 plus 5O2 gives us 4NO plus 6H2O. 2. H2O plus F2 gives us HF plus HOF. 3. Fe2O3 plus 3CO gives us 2Fe plus 3CO2. 4. 2H2 plus O2 gives us 2H2O. D. Define a redox reaction in terms of gain or loss of oxygen. Concept, oxidation and reduction. Redox reactions. Explanation. A reducing agent is a substance that facilitates reduction by being oxidized itself, which often involves gaining oxygen or losing hydrogen. In a redox reaction, oxidation, gain of oxygen, loss of hydrogen, and reduction, loss of oxygen, gain of hydrogen, occur simultaneously. Answer A. Reducing agents. 1. NH3. 2. H2O. Note, full marks awarded for attempting this part. 3. CO. 4. H2. B. A reaction in which the gain or loss of oxygen takes place simultaneously is called a redox reaction. Question 28. Suggest one remedial measure each to counteract the change in pH in human beings in the following cases. 1. Production of too much acid in stomach during indigestion. 2. Stung by a honeybee nettle leaves. B. Fresh milk has a pH of 6. When it changes into curd, will its pH increase or decrease, and why? Concept, pH in daily life and neutralization. Explanation. Excess acidity in the digestive system or from insect stings can be neutralized using mild bases. In milk, the bacterial conversion of lactose to lactic acid increases the concentration of H+ ions, thereby lowering the pH as it turns into curd. Answer A. Remedial measures. 1. Use of antacids. 2. Application of baking soda, a mild base, or dock plant leaf. B. The pH will decrease because curd is more acidic than milk due to the formation of lactic acid. Question 29A1. State the role of ATP in cellular respiration. 2. What ensures sufficient exchange of gases in plants? 3. State the conditions on which the direction of diffusion of gases in plant depend upon. Or B1. What is the internal energy reserve in plants and animals? 2. How desert plants perform photosynthesis if their stomata remain closed during the day. Concept, cellular respiration and plant nutrition. Explanation. ATP acts as a universal energy current, providing endodermic cellular reactions. Explanation. ATP acts as a universal energy currency, powering endothermic cellular reactions. Plants manage gas exchange through stomata, with diffusion directions shifting based on environmental conditions. Desert plants have adapted to high heat environments by separating CO2 intake at night from light-dependent reactions during the day. Answer A1. ATP is the energy currency for cellular processes. It breaks down to provide energy for endothermic reactions. 2. Stomata and the surface of leaves, stem and roots. 3. Environmental conditions and the requirements of the plant. B1. Internal energy reserve, starch in plants and glycogen in animals. 2. Desert plants take up CO2 at night to prepare an intermediate compound, which is then acted upon by energy absorbed by chlorophyll during the day. Question 30A. Complete the following ray diagram to show the formation of image for an object AB placed between pole P and focus F of a concave mirror. B. Mention the nature, position, and size of the image formed in this case. C. State the sign of the image distance in this case using the Cartesian sign convention. Concept: image formation by spherical mirrors. Explanation: when an object is placed between the pole and focus of a concave mirror, the reflected rays appear to meet behind the mirror, creating a virtual image. Under the Cartesian sign convention, distances measured in the direction of incident light behind the mirror are positive. Answer A. The diagram should show the reflected rays diverging and being traced back to form an image AB behind the mirror. B. Nature: virtual and erect. Position: behind the mirror. Size: diminished. Note: marking scheme specifics diminished. However, standard physics for this position indicates as enlarged image. C. The sign of image distance V is positive. Question 31. Give reasons for the following. A. Danger signal installed at airports and at the top of tall buildings are of red color. B. The sky appears dark to the passengers flying at very high altitudes. C. The path of a beam of light passing through a colloidal solution is visible. Concept: scattering of light and the Tyndall effect. Explanation: scattering is dependent on particle size and wavelength. Red light, having a high wavelength, travels through fog and smoke with minimal interference. Higher altitudes lack the atmospheric density required to scatter sunlight, resulting in a black appearance. In colloids, the particles are large enough to obstruct and reflect light beams. Answer A. Red light has a high wavelength and is least scattered by fog or smoke, making it visible from a distance. B. There is no scattering of light due to lack of atmosphere at high altitudes. C. Colloidal particles are large enough to scatter the beam of light. Tyndall effect. Question 32A1. State the rule used to find the force acting on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. 2. Identify the case in which the force will be 1 maximum. 2. Identify the case in which the force will be 1 maximum and 2 minimum respectively electron moving. 1. Perpendicular, 2 at an angle, 3 parallel to the field. Or B1. Draw the pattern of magnetic field lines of 1. A current carrying solenoid and 2. A bar magnet. 2. List 2 distinguishing features between the two fields. Concept: electromagnetism and magnetic force. Explanation: Fleming's left-hand rule defines the mechanical force resulting from the interaction between current and magnetic fields. The force is at its peak when the charge moves perpendicularly to the field. Solenoids act as temporary magnets whose properties can be manipulated, unlike permanent bar magnets. Answer A1. Fleming's left-hand rule. Stretch the thumb, forefinger, and central finger of the left hand perpendicularly. If the forefinger represents the field and the central finger represents current, the thumb points to the force motion. 2-1. Maximum in figure 1 perpendicular. 2. Minimum in figure 3 parallel. B1. Ray diagrams for a solenoid and a bar magnet. 2-1. Solenoid field strength can be changed by varying current. 2. Solenoid polarity can be reversed by reversing current. 3. Solenoid is a temporary magnet. Question 33A1. Why is a kitchen garden called an artificial ecosystem while a forest is considered to be a natural ecosystem? 2. While designing an artificial ecosystem at home, write any two things to be kept in mind to convert it into a self-sustaining system. B1. Construct a food chain at 4 trophic levels comprising hawk, snake, plants, rat. 2. 20,000 joules of energy was transferred by producers to organisms of the 2nd trophic level. Calculate the energy transferred to the 4th trophic level. Concept: ecosystems and energy flow. Explanation: artificial ecosystems are man-made and require intervention, whereas natural ecosystems are self-regulating. Energy transfer follows the 10% law, where only 1/10 of the energy at one trophic level is available to the next. Answer A1. A kitchen garden is man-made and non-sustainable without intervention, whereas a forest is self-sustainable and maintained by nature. 2. Provide oxygen replenishment, example via a pump, and include aquatic plants to serve as food. B1. Plants, rats, snakes, hawks. 2. Second trophic level, 20,000 joules. Third level, 2,000 joules. 10. The stability of species is like a biological ledger. Through the reduction division in gametes, nature ensures that the genetic debt of two parents is perfectly balanced, so the offspring starts with the exact chromosome count required for its species. This section contains 3 long answers, LA type questions carrying 5 marks each. Question 34A. A saturated organic compound, A, belongs to the homologous series of alcohols. On heating A with concentrated sulfuric acid at 443 K, it forms an unsaturated compound, B, with molecular mass 28 U. The compound B, on addition of 1 mole of hydrogen in the presence of nickel, changes to a saturated hydrocarbon, C. 1. Identify A, B, and C. 2. Write the chemical equations showing the conversion of A into B. 3. What happens when compound C undergoes combustion? 4. State one industrial application of hydrogenation reaction. 5. Name the products formed when compound A reacts with sodium. B1. With the help of diagram, show the formation of micelles when soap is applied on oily dirt. 2. Take 2 test tubes, X and Y, with 10 ml of hard water in each. In test tube X, add few drops of soap solution, and in test tube Y, add a few drops of detergent solution. Shake both the test tubes for the same period. 1. In which test tube the formation of foam will be more? Why? 2. In which test tube is a curdy solid formed? Why? Concept: carbon compounds, dehydration of alcohols, and cleansing action of soaps. Explanation: concentrated sulfuric acid acts as a dehydrating agent to convert ethanol into ethene. Saturated hydrocarbons release significant heat and light during combustion. In cleaning, soaps react with calcium and magnesium ions in hard water to form an insoluble precipitate called scum, whereas detergents are not affected by these ions. Answer: A1. A. Ethanol, CH3CH2OH. B. Ethene, CH2 is equal to CH2. C. Ethane, CH3-CH3. 2. CH3CH2OH with concentrated H2SO4 and 443K gives us CH2 is equal to CH2 plus H2O. 3. Carbon dioxide and water are produced and a large amount of heat is released. C2H6 plus O2 gives us 2CO2 plus 3H2O plus heat. 4. Conversion of vegetable oils into fats, hydrogenation of oils. 5. Sodium ethoxide and hydrogen. B1. Diagram should show hydrophobic tails attached to an oil droplet and hydrophilic heads pointing outward. 2. 1 test tube Y, detergent. Detergents are effective in hard water and form foam easily. 2. Test tube X, soap. Soap reacts with calcium and magnesium salts in hard water to form insoluble scum. Question 35. A. Name the parts of a bisexual flower that are not directly involved in reproduction. B. Differentiate between self-pollination and cross-pollination. List any 2 significance of pollination. C. What is the fate of ovules and ovary after fertilization in a flower? Concept: reproduction in flowering plants. Explanation: Non-reproductive parts like sepals and petals protect the flower and attract pollinators. Pollination is the essential transfer of pollen grains for fertilization, enabling genetic variation and seed formation. Following fertilization, the floral parts transform into seeds and fruits to ensure the development of the next generation. Answer A. Sepals, calyx, and petals, corolla. B. Self-pollination, transfer of pollen from anther to stigma in the same flower or another flower of the same plant. Cross-pollination, transfer of pollen from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower on a different plant. Significance: 1. Necessary for seed formation. 2. Cross-pollination brings about genetic variation. C. Ovule develops into a seed. Ovary develops into a fruit. Question 36a. An electric iron consumes energy at a rate of 880 watts when heating is at the maximum rate and 330 watts when the heating is at the minimum. If the source voltage is 220 volts, calculate the current and resistance in each case. B. What is heating effect of electric current? C. Find an expression for the amount of heat produced when a current passes through a resistor for some time. Concept: electric power and Joule's law of heating. Explanation: power is the product of voltage and current. P is equal to VI. When resistance can be found using Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. When current passes through a resistor, electrical energy is dissipated as heat energy, a phenomenon used in applications. When current passes through a resistor, electrical energy is dissipated as heat energy, a phenomenon used in appliances like ions. Answer: A. At maximum rate, I is equal to P by V is equal to 820 by 220 is equal to 4 amps. R is equal to VI is equal to 220 by 4, which is equal to 55 ohms. At minimum rate, I is equal to P by V is equal to 330 by 220, which is equal to 1.4 amps. R is equal to VI, which is equal to 220 by 1.5, which is equal to 146.6 ohms. B. When electric current is passed through a resistor, electrical energy is dissipated and appears as heat energy. C. H is equal to I square RT, or H is equal to VIT. Section E. This section consists of 3 source-based, case-based units of assessment carrying 4 marks each. Question 37. Almost all metals combine with oxygen to form metal oxides. Metal oxides are generally basic in nature, but some metal oxides show basic as well as acidic behavior. A. What happens when copper is heated in air? Give the equation of the reaction involved. B. Why are some metal oxides characterized as amphoteric? Give one example. C. Complete the following equations. 1. Na2OS plus H2OL gives us 2. La2O3 plus 2NaOH gives us, or C. 1. On burning sulfur in oxygen, a colorless gas is produced. Write chemical equation. 2. Name the gas. 3. State the nature of the gas. 4. Action on dry litmus paper. Concept: metals and nonmetals, oxide classification. Explanation: copper undergoes oxidation to form a black metallic oxide. Oxides that react with both acids and bases are amphoteric. Nonmetals like sulfur produce acidic oxides that require moisture to show acidic properties on litmus paper. Answer: A. 2Cu plus O2 gives us 2CuO. B. They react with both acids and bases to produce salt and water. Example: Al2O3 or ZNO. C. 1. Na2OS plus H2OL gives us 2NaOH AQ. 2. Al2O3 plus 2NaOH gives us 2NaAlO2 plus H2O. Or C. 1. S plus O2 gives us SO2. 2. Sulfur dioxide. 3. Acidic. 4. No change. Question 38. Mendel crossed C plants having round and yellow seeds with wrinkled and green seeds. No plants with wrinkled and green seeds were obtained in the F1 generation. A. Write any two pairs of contrasting characteristics of pea plant used by Mendel other than seed, shape, color. B. Differentiate between dominant and recessive traits. C. State the ratio of the combination observed in the F2 generation. What do you interpret from this result? Or C. Diagrammatically explain progeny obtained in F1 and F2 for pure violet flowered VV into pure white flowered VV. Concept: heredity and Mendelian inheritance. Explanation: dominant traits mask the expression of recessive traits. A dihybrid cross ratio of 9:3:3:1 demonstrates that different traits are inherited independently of one another. Answer: A. Tall dwarf height and white purple flower color. B. Dominant traits are expressed even if only one copy exists. Recessive traits are suppressed by dominant genes and expressed only when two copies are present. C. Ratio: 9:3:3:1. Interpretation: traits are independently inherited. C. F1 generation all violet VV. F2 generation 3 violet is to 1 violet VV, 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 VV. Question 39. Move a cardboard back and forth gradually until you find a bright, sharp spot of light on the board using a concave mirror. This spot is the principal focus. A. List two applications of a concave mirror. B. If the distance between the mirror and the focus is 15 centimeters, find the radius of curvature. C. Draw a ray diagram from an object between pole and focus of a concave mirror. C. An object 10 centimeters in size is placed at 100 centimeters in front of a concave mirror. If its image is at the same point, find 1. Focal length and 2. Magnification with sign. Concept: reflection and image formation by concave mirrors. Explanation: the radius of curvature is twice the focal length, r is equal to 2f. When an object is at the center of curvature, u is equal to v, the image is real, inverted, and the same size, resulting in a magnification of -1. Answer: A. Torches, headlights, or shaving mirrors. B. R is equal to 2F is equal to 2 into 15 centimeters, which is equal to 30 centimeters. C. Ray diagram must show a virtual, erect, and enlarged image formed behind the mirror. C1. Since U is equal to V, the object is at C. R is equal to 100 centimeters. So F is equal to R by 2, which is equal to -50 centimeters. 2. M is equal to minus V by U, which is equal to -100 divided by -100, which is equal to -1. And with that, we come to an end of our Science 2023 solved paper. This is Kunal Kohli thanking you for tuning in, and tune in for many more papers.